Well, I am so excited. Today we have M&A who is a success coach with us. And I know she has a beautiful journey to share with us on what she's done with mindset in her personal life and with her business. And that's what I believe led her to being a coach today. So M&A, welcome.
Thank you, Ludivine. Thank you.
So
So
glad to
excited.
have you. Yes. Tell me, I don't know your whole story. I would love
Yeah.
to hear what got you into mindset in the first place.
I think it was that when I came in contact with my coach, who was to become my coach, it was so clear to me the difference between the knowledge that I had accumulated and the embodiment that she represented. I could see that although I had heard of all the things that she was saying, I realized how big the contrast was between how I was actually living my life and the knowledge that I thought I had, right? So there was a huge disconnect between all these great things that I had learned, that I knew about, all these great concepts and mindset and all of that stuff and positive attitude and all of that. But I wasn't living any of those things. And I think that's what opened my eyes to see that how we don't usually critically look at the patterns that we have and how we think that when we hear about some information, we think we got it. We think that's it. Now I know this, but we don't know it. It's not until it has no effect whatsoever in your life until you actually implement it, until you actually embody it. And realizing that was a huge wake up call for me to look at and to say, here I've been, studying all these books, knowing all these things, and it had no benefit to my life. I hadn't
Wow.
applied it. And I didn't even realize that I hadn't applied it. That's what's so awesome. That's what's so great to see what applying it looks like because my coach, she had really applied it. And it was
Wow.
so great to see that there was a huge difference between hearing about something and actually living it.
Mm. So just watching her to get into coaching, or what made you get into coaching?
I think once I was coached for myself,
Yeah.
it was so clear to me how what a contrast it is between when you know and apply this knowledge, what options are open to you and how empowered you become and how limitations disappear because you have now the tools to live, you're free. You now know how to achieve your goals. There aren't obstacles in the same way that other people experience obstacles. And so it was a little frustrating to me to see how people were struggling and they didn't need to be, And I was going around telling people, you don't need to struggle. You you just don't know the right way to do it. You're doing it in a way that creates these problems for yourself, and you don't need to do that. And I was going around telling people, and I realized I'm coaching people who didn't ask for it.
They
And
probably thought you had grown a third eye.
yes. And I realized, if I'm going to be coaching people anyway, I might as well do it for people that actually asked for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Tell us more about how did mindset, right, after working with your coach, how did that change your personal life? And I know you had a business at the time as well, right?
hmm
How
hmm
did that affect your business?
When I first started, my business wasn't active. I had health issues. I had severe health issues. And I was focused on I was active with investments because I thought, I can't work, so I gotta, make money somehow. And I had hit that famous ceiling, no matter what I did, there was only so much I could make.
Mm.
And the results I had from coaching was that it was just, miraculous sounds like such a cliche, but it was like all of the limitations went away. It was like, whereas before there was this very clear limits to what I could achieve, even with all the knowledge. And with coaching, I could work less in terms of like I was less active with investments. In fact, I stopped trying at all. And I think in that year, I made 500% on my investments by
Wow.
doing less. I was less active. I made so much money. I made back the money I invested in my coaching. I made that back within 2 months because I learned these tools and I removed the limitations on in my mind, right? The limiting beliefs that I had. And also the main thing also was that, you get so much joy from like having a purpose, having a direction in life, having a meaning. You have a reason why you get up and why you do things. That you have something that you're aiming for. You also you train your mind to be kind to yourself. You train your mind to be look for solutions, to be grateful, to be humble, but also, ironically, you're also seeing more value in yourself than ever before and in other people. It's like it's no words can describe, but it was like I think I needed to make that investment and in time and in money in
Yeah.
order to truly commit, to truly make this shift because it's so that comfort zone is like really the biggest. It's such a cliche too, the comfort zone but it's like the biggest enemy to our greatness, to our progress. And I think I needed to be all in order to make this shift. And it's been, my health is much better now. I'm finally working again and I love it. I'm learning. I have the tools now to work on whatever paradigms or whatever patterns that haven't been working for me. And like it's always this new. So once I achieve one uh, progress in one area of life, there's always something else lined up that I want to improve. And it's so meaningful to always be bettering yourself. We're never done, right? Not we're never all the way finished, but yeah, I can't speak highly enough of it, really.
Yeah. So, this is funny because a lot of the time we think, and I'm going to go back to your investments because I think it's such a
Yeah.
great example. A lot of the time we think it's the economy controlling,
Oh, yes.
the ups and downs of your investment
Yeah.
and what happens
Yeah.
to them. When really what you're sharing is by just changing your mindset. It's a
Oh,
big
yeah.
for a lot of things, right? But just by changing your mindset, you actually change multiplied, multiple times
Yeah.
the results of your investments. It had nothing to do with the economy.
Yeah. That's what's so incredible. It's like I was just talking to some clients today about, they were saying, well, I'm having such and such limitations. And I told them about how I used to believe that racism was a hindrance in my life. Sweden is a country that where immigration is relatively new, It's not very diverse yet, To some extent it is, but I used to think that discrimination and all of that was a real problem in my life. I believed that, And I shared with them, and I want to share that with anybody who wants to listen to that, that Sweden hasn't changed, but I've changed, and discrimination or any racism has no effect whatsoever in my life. If anything, I think I'm treated better than most people, I
Wow,
believe.
a shift.
Not today. Well, not when I started, but today, as a result of working on myself. I get treated so well. And it's the work I've done on myself. So we do think it's the economy. We think it's the government. We do think it's that particular stock didn't do well. That particular investment was a mistake. But it's not those things. And I think that's both empowering, but also like it puts the responsibility in our hands. And that's the greatest thing, I think, because if we can learn to use that, then everything is available to us.
Yeah. Yes. When it comes to your health, what do you think you've done, you've changed to really improve your health outcomes as well?
I think. I had a lot of limiting beliefs around my health because for me, I had been in business for many years and I equated success with sacrifice. So
Mm.
I sacrificed my health for the successes that I had had. And so in order to focus on my health, I had to give up working. So it was either or in my mind. I couldn't do both. Yeah, and that's a common one, unfortunately. And um, so what I had to do with health is I'm actually currently working on that still to equate my well-being with success in all areas of life. It's only through my health that success can come to me. It's only through my nurturing myself and caring for myself that I can be successful. And life is proving that to me now with the work that I'm doing currently. I find that in order to do a great job, I have to take care of myself. So I can see my paradigm in action. I can see that I've changed it.
He's so good. I love that. And for most people, they may not equate that they have to sacrifice their health, but I see a lot of sacrificing family time or
Yes.
having then no life really, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on in many ways, it's a very similar paradigm. It's a similar belief that you can't
Yeah.
have both, right?
Yeah.
Only one overtakes the other, basically. Or if you focus on
Yeah.
time, you're not gonna be able to succeed as well in your business because you just gotta put in the work, right? I've
Yeah.
belief as well that you have to work hard to be successful. And I
Yeah.
know that's a belief and a paradigm I've worked on and I'm still working on as well, right? Because
Yeah.
I still have that default in me, right? Of, to be
Same.
you have to work hard.
Yeah. Same.
And it's funny because I remember a time where I found myself really just exhausted. And I was like, okay, something's not working, right? I need to take a step back. There's got to be a better way. And
Mhm.
it's shifting that belief that no, the more I relax, the less I do in one way or another, right?
Mhm.
The easier it gets and
Mhm.
easier it is to succeed. And it's making that mental shift that allows it to happen on the outside eventually.
Yeah. It's so incredible how whatever we believe becomes the circumstances. If we believe it, that becomes the circumstances. Because people say, well, these are my circumstances. You see how I have to sacrifice family time in order to work, and I have to do this in order to make that. Yes, because you believe it is why that's the case. When you no longer believe it, those circumstances will shift to the opposite if you shift your belief to the opposite.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's incredible.
What do you feel was the biggest pivotal moment in your experience, either as a mentee or now as you're growing into your coaching business?
Um, Two things. Now, as a coach, the biggest shift for me was when I started. My habit was to work on myself and not. So it was a shift for me to learn to help others with what I had done for myself. So that it was an adjustment. And so, what made a big shift for me recently, and I have a lot more to learn. So I have a long way more to go. But what recently made a shift for me was that get back to why I'm doing this. It's not about me. It's not about, you know, hey, listen to me. It's about I got into this because knowing this saved my life and I want to save as many other people as possible. And getting back to how can I help people in the best possible way for the people who are ready and willing, because not everyone is ready and willing, and I don't want to try and get the attention of people who maybe aren't ready or interested. Those that want this, I want to help them as much as I can, as much as they're willing to listen. I want to help them, but really focus there. And obviously, of course, charge people as well because it's a requirement. Because if you don't charge them, then we don't have that circulation and growth. But going from focusing on presentation mode, hey, here's my information to go to, how can I help you? and literally having that and actually talking to people one on one, that was a big shift for me because it's so rewarding. Oh my God, it's so rewarding to make a difference to somebody and to have a real conversation with a real person. So rewarding. I've been, because this has been a bit of a lonely path for me when I did it for myself. I was just, doing the work on me, I wasn't really sharing it with a lot of people. But then the biggest shift for me as a mentee was when I hit the first big terror barrier
Mm,
because it's an unavoidable part in any major shift. You have to feel that subconscious mind kicking off and saying, "This is unfamiliar. I can't do it. I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes. This is dangerous. Are people going to abandon me if I make money? Is life, all of those fears." Um, that was a huge, I was in that, it was in that part for a couple of months even just panicking about losing the money and I did lose money because I was scared obviously that's so I believed I would lose it and so I lost some but then but then it came back so many times over and
mhm.
so it was like oh even if my fears manifest then just starting on this path will get me so much more and um, so that was, I mean, I feel like I got a lot of confidence from overcoming that. I still look at that and think, look, if I could overcome that first experience when I didn't know what was happening and I didn't know why this was kicking off, and then I can survive a bit of discomfort in every growth step that I take.
Wow, that is so cool. So your biggest fear was to lose the money at the time? Is that what it was?
Yeah, yeah. Because money for me represented all of the things that I couldn't control in my life. Money felt like the one thing that if I worked enough or I did enough or I studied this particular stock or I traded this, if I just put in some, I would have some control. Whereas everything else in my life felt like it was out of my control. My health was out of my control. My relationships were a mess. Money felt like the tangible thing that I could handle. So losing the money, I felt like now I got nothing. But
Mm,
and then when I was felt rich while I was losing money, that's when it shifted.
okay.
When it's no longer about the money and I became rich as my identity, regardless of the money, that's when it shifted.
I want you to talk more about that because I was going to ask you,
Mhm.
okay, what did you do to overcome that fear and how did you shift? So, what did you do as this was happening mentally, physically? What are some of the things you put into place?
The main thing I think was I spent so much time in gratitude is one thing. Uh, because if I remember that moment when it shifted, these emotional impacts really make a big, strong memory. I
Yeah.
remember when I felt like, okay, I'm losing the money that I base all of my self-esteem on. I felt like without that money, I'm nobody. So when I was losing that or lost a big chunk of it at least temporarily, I went back to what's really making me rich, and that is I have a loving family. I have wisdom enough to have discernment. I have, I thought of all the things that I do have. My family was mainly, all of that. And I thought, you know what, even if I don't have the money and I'm just average, that's in itself is wealth, you know. I have a safe home. I'm safe. I don't have drama. I don't have people that are harming me in life. I have good people in my circle. I have freedom to choose what I want to do. I don't have stress right now. And I thought about all these things that money can't buy, and I felt really rich. And that's what shifted because it's really, it's such a cliche, this too, but it's really not about the money. We want the money because of the freedom, because it solves problems, because it gives us self-esteem, perhaps. But if I can have that self-esteem without the money, and and I did have, because we work on the self-image. And so I had already built the self-image, and I didn't want to give it up just because I didn't have the money to back it up, right? So if I already have these, sorry,
Otherwise, you're letting the outside control you, right?
yes. Yes. Now, at the time, I didn't have the understanding, but I just felt like this feels so good to have this self-image that,
Yeah.
self-image that I'm worthy and that life is good and that I'm blessed and I'm grateful. That felt too good that I didn't want to give it up just because I no longer have the money to back it up. Yeah. So
And
I remember actually distinctly thinking, you know what? Even if I don't have the money, even if the money doesn't come back, even if I've lost it permanently, this is my new identity. This is who I am now. And I'm sticking with this because it just feels good. And that's literally the moment when it shifted.
wow, that is beautiful, Emily. I love that.
Mm.
You know what? I really heard two things. One is you didn't let the outside control you, right? You
Yeah,
stayed
yeah,
your identity. Part of it was really having that new identity. And the
yeah,
other piece was you really dissociated from what money meant and took a whole new meaning of what abundance is really about,
yes,
outside of just the material, just the coins and the bills and that we are
yes,
think of. And
yeah.
you developed a new meaning for what being rich is.
That's true. I didn't think of that, but it's true. It did shift how I view wealth. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
think it's because you were able to see yourself as rich in spite of what it looked like
Yeah.
on the bank account, right?
Yeah.
Rich
Yeah.
in so many other ways that
Yeah.
then when you're on that prosperity level, right? Because you're
Yeah.
seeing prosperity in the love in your family, right? For example,
Mm.
in many other things, right? In your health
Yeah.
improving that
Yeah.
um you just attracted the financial aspect then.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a beautiful, I'm so grateful for that. And I think money still, I think it's important, but it's not important to accumulate and just put it in a bank account. It's important because it's possible and it's freedom. Now you can have the freedom without the money, but I do wish for everyone to have abundance.
Yeah.
But the thing is we do have all of us do have abundance. We're just not trained to look at it. That's
Mhm.
the thing. Yeah.
That's, I think, the biggest thing I've worked on myself to look at
Mm.
abundance I already have,
Yeah.
outside of just the financial aspect. Because
Yeah.
I, we've been just taught, I mean, we're barely taught anything about financial education as it is, but we've not
Yeah.
been taught about what true wealth is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something I've been working on even as I continue this journey myself.
Yeah.
Thank
Have
you.
you
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
Have you have you worked on like a new self-identity around money?
That too. That too.
Yeah.
And developing, I will say, a new relationship with it, right?
Yeah.
Developing a new relationship with money, changing my identity, obviously. And also, just like what you said earlier, and that's why it really struck me, right? Looking at all the other ways that I am abundant into
Yeah.
my life. And specifically, I had actually an aha moment just 2 days ago where I was like, there's we talk about, especially in our world, right, there's an abundance of water, abundance of leaves and all of this, but that never really like, yeah, but it really never made me feel like abundant.
Mhm.
2 days ago I was like, oh my gosh, there's an abundance of love in my life, because when I look at my kids, like the love is endless, and that just made me
Mhm.
feel so full and so rich. I was like, this is what it is, this is what
Yeah.
it's about.
Yeah.
And that just shifted me personally, right?
Yeah. That's
So,
interesting you say that because I was going to ask you what's the difference in the new relationship with money and the new identity around money. Was
yeah,
that, I think you touched on that. Is that what it was?
it is that in terms
Mm,
of the
well,
relationship with it, right? And then just being detached from the outcome as well.
yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
and seeing myself as rich already, but in multiple ways, not just what's in,
Yes. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So true.
Yes.
So true.
M&A, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I have my services and I have a fun money block quiz on my website that people can check out. This limiting beliefs quiz that I love because, we're not aware of what's going on in our subconscious mind. And it helps to look at it in a conscious way, like critically, like what is truly going on here. So I have that quiz on my website and my services there. The website is emine.one. It's EMINE.ONE, emine.one. And my mailing address, if you people want to get in touch with me for any questions or any upcoming events or anything like that, is mail@emina.com. Dot one, sorry. It's been a long day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. It's been a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you for having me. What an honor.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed hearing Emily and her personal experiences. Join us next week as we will continue to chat about how to create breakthroughs in business and our personal life through mindset shifts. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Continue to tune in every Saturday at 11:30 a.m. And please listen live 24/7 by going to wdrbmedia.com and click on the Listen Live tab. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show or want free advertising, go to www.dreamintosuccessnow.com and submit a request. Feel free to connect with me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for daily tips, and all the links can be found on my website at dreamintosuccessnow.com. You've been listening to Your Business, Your Life, Your Mind, and I'm your host, Lu Tandazo. On WDRB Media, the voice of the community for double the information and inspiration. Until next week, continue to be blessed.